What's up guys, back again with another video in the Java web development series. This time I'm going to show you how to map your servlets to specific URL patterns. So last episode I showed you how to make servlets, how to map them to a single URL, and then how to call them basically so that you can use the do, get, do, post methods and process the servlet, the HTTP request using the servlet and all that cool stuff. In this episode I'm going to show you how you can map those servlets in more detail, so that you can do some more complex URL patterns and do multiple URL patterns and stuff like that to make your servlets more complex. All right. So before we do that, I need to show you something here in IntelliJ 2020.2. That's the version that just came out here. They updated to 2020.2. There's a change to the templates that they provide. There's a small change to the Java Enterprise template. It looks a little differently. And it works a little differently. They changed the structure of it, so I'm going to show you how you can make a Java servlet application using this new update, okay? Alright, so make sure you have Java Enterprise selected first of all, and as you can see you have the project SDK, which is the Java version, but the first thing you have here that's new is the build tool, and this is Maven or Gradle, and you can select either one. It doesn't actually matter which one you select. So if you're not familiar with these, they're basically just things that allow you to build Java applications and then also package them, and most importantly they allow you to use dependencies within your project without having to import them into IntelliJ, like the jar directly. You can just provide the dependency inside your Maven configuration file, for example, and then it automatically imports the dependencies for you into your project, and it's a bunch of cool stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, you don't really need to worry about that too much, but it's just going to set you up with a simple build tool. You can choose either one that you are more familiar with. Most people use Maven, I believe. I like Maven. I've never actually used Gradle, but Maven looks nicer because it's got a nice XML setup. It's just very nice. And then the next thing that we have here is the test runner. And this is just the library that you're going to be using to run unit tests within your application. I've never really played around with unit tests before yet, so I'm not really familiar with it, but I know JUnit is also more popular. I'm pretty sure because I've seen it the most. But either way, you can choose whatever you're more comfortable with. We're not going to be using this in the near future. I'm not sure if I'll be using this at all in this series, but I might. And yeah, so don't worry about that. Just choose whatever you want. And then next, of course, Java, which is obviously what we're going to be using here. And now we get to the important part. So we're going to select the Java EE things that we want to bring into the project. So you can select Java EE 8, but as you can see here, it also allows you to select Jakarta EE 9, which is just Java EE renamed to Jakarta EE 9, which I believe is like open sourced now. So the community is able to basically, continue Java EE using this new name. I believe that's how that's working, but I could be wrong. But either way, that's about to come out. I think it's like in beta right now. As you can see, it's not complete, I believe, but yeah, you can select that if you want to. But anyways, let's just stick with the basic Java EE 8 right now. And as you can see, there's many different options here, many different things that come with Java EE 8. You can select full platform for pretty much everything. You can do web profile for anything related directly to a web application, pretty much. Java server faces, servlets, WebSockets, RESTful web services. Pretty much what you might need to make a complex web application with Java EE. But what we're going to be working with, of course, is servlets. So we're just going to select servlet, and that's going to be servlet 4.0.1. And that's all we really need, okay? So you don't have to really worry about selecting any of this other stuff, but you can if you want to. And we might explore this other stuff later, maybe in other series or maybe this series, whatever. And we also can see some other stuff that we might need, like Hibernate, Timeleaf. We're going to be exploring those in the future for sure. I don't know if it's going to be in the series, but definitely. But anyway, done rambling now. Like I said, all we need is servlets because it's just a simple servlet and JSP series. So just like that, and click next. And now we just need to give our project a name and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to put this on my desktop this time. So I'm going to call this mapping servlets. You can call yours whatever you want. And then provide a group, which is just the package of your application pretty much. And then artifact name, which is going to be the name of the artifact whenever you package the application. So it seems that I already have a project name mapping servlets. So I'm just going to change it to mapping servlets tutorial. and that's going to be good. And let me just rename this also, the folder itself. And yeah, that's all we need. So this is all going to be placed into our Maven configuration. So now we can click finish, and it's going to generate all the good stuff for us to begin making this project. Alright, so everything has been loaded here. You can see that there are some small differences as we begin to look at this new layout. The main thing is going to be that the web folder has been renamed to web app, so not really a big difference, but you also have your web inf folder and your web.xml folder like we used to have in the previous layout, which is pretty much the exact same thing. And we also have a resources folder, which is something that I think comes with Maven, but we don't really need to worry about that. So everything's pretty much the exact same. All your servlets and Java files go into the Java folder or package, and then all your web application related stuff like your HTML, CSS, images, stuff like that go into the web app folder. Of course, JSP also. And then on the right side here, you see, well, actually in the middle here, you see your pom.xml, which if you don't know is your Maven configuration file. So you can see we have dependencies here that were automatically placed, which is the first one here is going to be your servlet dependency, so we can use servlets within our application. Then we also have JUnit, and yeah, so like I said, we're not going to be using JUnit, but that's for unit testing if you're interested. But also we have a plugin down here for building the project, which is going to basically package your project into a WAR file. And a WAR file, if you don't know, is basically a special jar file that is for Java EE web applications. So commonly when you're working with Java EE web application deployments, it's going to be as a WAR file, which is, like I said, like a jar file. It's also, you can think of it as a special kind of zip file. That's also another way to think of it. But anyway, that's pretty much what that's doing. We'll see that in a second when we set up the configuration here. But also on the right side, you have your Maven stuff here. So if you're a Maven user, you know pretty much how this works, I guess. And we don't really have to worry about that. So you can minimize that window, and you can close this window too. We don't need to touch that at all. Actually, one thing, if you want to, you can change your Java version. By default, it's going to put you on Java version 8, just 1.8. That stands for 8, Java 8. So we can change it to Java 14. If you're using Java 14, go to File, Project Structure. Make sure you're on 14 here. So now you can go here and then actually change this to 14 also. And then click this, basically this load Maven changes button here, and that's going to load everything. So this will allow you to use Java 14 within your project here, and then it'll compile your code as Java 14 code basically. But anyway, we also, I mean, as you can see here, it does not generate an index.jsp file anymore, but that's not really a big deal. So we can make one if we want to. So new JSP, we can call this index.jsp. We'll call this home page. We say this is the home page. And if we want to test this out to make sure everything's running correctly, normally we would just press the run button here, but as you can see, there's no configuration for us to run. So that's another kind of an issue, or at least it's kind of annoying for me. It doesn't, as you can see, when we created this project, it didn't let you choose Tomcat as the application server. So we have to set that up ourselves now, which is kind of annoying. But anyway, to do that, go to add a configuration, then go to the plus sign here, then scroll down until you find Tomcat server, then click local. And then hopefully you watched last episode where we set up the application, the Tomcat application server and all that fun stuff. So it should already locate it for you. But if it doesn't have Tomcat located, you can click configure and then add it to here to tell IntelliJ where everything is for your Tomcat. And another thing we need to do, as you can see down here, it says warning, no artifacts marked for deployment. So just click fix, and then it's going to give you two options. Mapping a servlet war or mapping a servlet tutorial war exploded. In a war file, like I said, it's just what I told you a second ago. It's just a special type of package, like a jar file type of thing, except for these types of applications. But then you also have a war exploded, which is basically that, but extracted, like a zip file has been extracted basically. So it's not zipped up basically as a war file. It's like a extracted folder, I guess you could say. At least that's my understanding of it. But it doesn't really matter which one you choose, so just click whatever you want to, then click apply. But also go back up to here to the application context and just remove this like we did before, because that's going to allow you to not have to put that on the end of the URL whenever you try using the web application within the browser. So just make sure that's all applied. That's all you need to do here. And then all this pops up. You don't really need to worry about that. And so now that's all you need. So as you can see, it says Tomcat 9.0.36, which is my Tomcat version. So you can run this now, and it's going to start up the web application. All right, so now it's loading up the web application, the web server, the servlet container, all that fun stuff. And I'll see you in a second. Oh, here we go. There we go. So there's our web page. It says this is the home page. So, all right, so now we're at a familiar point. We know how to begin our application here after creating everything with the new layout. So what I'm going to do now is show you the new feature, which is how to map a servlet. We kind of did this before. There's actually two ways you can do it. You can use annotations, or you can use an XML configuration file using the web.xml file that we have here. So we're just going to start off with the way we're familiar with, the easier way actually, because annotations are much easier, obviously. So click with the package that you want to create the servlet, and then go to New, Create New Servlet. Then you're going to name your servlet. We're just going to call this Annotated Servlet. And you can make sure this is checked. Create Java EE6 annotated class. Click OK. That's going to generate everything like we saw before. As you can see, your your servlet has a name here, which is important. But also you can give it a URL pattern by doing comma and then URL patterns. And if you want to, you can do double quotes here to provide a URL pattern to map it to. So if you want to map this URL or map this servlet to the /Cody URL pattern, we can do that. So that means that every time they go to localhost 8080/Cody, this servlet will be invoked, okay? But we can also do multiple URL patterns within the same servlet. So just put curly brackets here, and then you can put that, and then comma, and then you can put as many URL patterns as you want to. So as you can see here, the data type here is a string array, so you can have multiple URL patterns basically mapped to the same servlet, which is pretty cool. So if we want to, we can do /Cody. We can also do /cheese. You can also do /Cody/Simpson if you want to. So that'll work also. So you can have like multiple layers of the route, the URL route. And you can also do, there's one more thing kind of you can do. Well, first of all, you can do as many as you want. So you can do Cody Simpson is really cool. And then when you go to a localhost 8080/Cody/Simpson/is/really/cool, this servlet will be invoked, okay? But yeah, that's how that works. So before we carry on, let's actually test the ones that we already have just to make sure that we're doing this correctly. So we'll do sout and we'll say the get method has been called. All right, so let's give this a try, see if it works. So we'll just restart our application here. Okay, cool. So our application is ready. So now we'll go to /Cody. And as you can see, nothing happens on the screen here, but if we go back to our application here, it says the get method has been called. So the servlet was able to match, or the servlet container was successfully able to match this servlet to the URL pattern that we called, because we set /Cody as the URL pattern of this servlet. So we can also try these two if we want to. So /cheese, and it'll do the same thing. So as you can see, it says that in the console again. Then we can also do Cody/Simpson. And now if we go back here, it says it again in the console, okay? So hopefully you believe me now that it works like that. So this one's kind of cool. If you do /Cody/ pound symbol, pound star thingamajiggy, this will basically match to every pattern under the slash, behind the slash here. So for example, if I did not have /Cody/Simpson, but I still went to that, it would match because /Cody/star matches to everything under that route. So this would match to anything. So /Cody/Simpson, /Cody/poop, anything, really, literally anything. So that would basically be how that works. But okay, cool. So it's already. We'll do /Cody/Simpson, and nothing appears. But if we go back again, it says the get method has been called. So it indeed works, and we can call any other one that we want to, random stuff. And it still gets called because, like I said, the star means pretty much, it means everything, like behind the slash. Hopefully that makes sense. But let's see what happens if we go to Cody/poop/yummy. Let's see what happens. And it still gets called because anything that follows the slash here, because of the star, means that anything matches behind that. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, that's all that's to it. That's how you can use annotations to map a servlet to a URL pattern or multiple URL patterns. So let's see how we can use XML configuration to do the same exact thing. So we're just going to make a new servlet here. So create new servlet, and we'll call this XML servlet. and then just make sure that you uncheck the create Java EE6 annotated class thingy-majiggy here. So as you can see, it does generate an XML thingy here, but we'll delete this and start it from scratch. Then go back here to our new servlet right here. And as you can see, it generated the standard stuff here, but it does not have the annotation like it gave the other one when it was created for the first time. So we can add one if you want to. We can add a thingy-majiggy, so web servlet, then name, poop. But yeah, let's set it up using an XML configuration here. So within the web app tag here, we can make a servlet thingy, so servlet, and then within that servlet name. So we need to give our servlet a name. So we'll call this XML servlet. Commonly, you'll just give it the same name as the class itself. And then after that, you want to provide the class that is that servlet represents. So servlet class, and then just provide the path to that. So in this case, since we don't have any packages, it would just be annotated servlet. But if we did this, if we did have a package here, let me show you. So me.codysimpson. If we did have a package like that and we move this inside of the package and refactor it, then that means that this would actually be me.codysimpson. Annotated servlet, actually not annotated servlet, XML servlet, and that would match it. Okay, so we do have a little bit of an error kind of thing here. It says the servlet should have a mapping, and that basically means that the servlet needs to have a mapping by default whenever using the XML configuration. So we can do servlet mapping, and then just provide the servlet that you want to provide a map to. So XML servlet, which is the name of your servlet that you have up here. And then now you want to provide the URL pattern that you want to match that servlet to. So we can do anything inside of here for the URL pattern. We can do /food. So when we go to localhost 8080/food, this servlet here will be invoked, and it'll be processed within these methods here, okay? All right, so let's actually reload our application here so we can test this new servlet mapping out. All right, so now we'll go to /food, and nothing appears on the screen, but if we go to here, oh yeah, we need to actually provide some code here. But we can assume it works because we didn't get any 404 errors or anything like that. But we'll just change this to get called on XML servlet. Okay, so let's reload here. All right, so let's reload and then go back here again, and we can see get called on XML servlet. So that means that we successfully mapped the servlet within the web.xml configuration file here. So just to recap, we just need to actually create the servlet with the servlet tag here. So provide a name for the servlet, and then you actually need to tell it where the servlet class is located. So me.codysimpson.xml servlet, and then you can provide a mapping to that servlet. So whenever you go to /food, that's going to be triggered. It's going to be triggering the XML servlet to process that route. Okay, and then if you want to, you can actually make multiple servlet mappings. So you can just tell it you want to use that same servlet here, XML servlet, which is going to be matched to this name, like I said. And then you can provide a URL pattern. So we could do /drinks instead, and that'll go to the /drinks route. And you can add another one if you want to. So we can do something more complex. We can do XML servlet and then do /drinks/star. So that'll work for anything following the second slash here. So anything that follows that will match to this mapping here. So let's test that out. So let's do that and then do redeploy, which is just basically just going to redeploy the application without having to restart the entire web server. So we'll just go back here, reload, nothing happens. It says get called on XML, cool. But let's go back to here again, do /drinks/random, and it says 404 not found, so that's a problem. So okay, so I see the problem. We need to restart the entire application, I guess. I'm assuming, because it should have loaded that new mapping. Oh, I see the problem is because we have drink, not drinks. So let's just change this to drinks. But if we go back to here, it'll just change this now. And now it works basically. So if we check the console, it says get called on XML servlet. So yeah, that's basically how you can map a servlet using XML configuration. It's a pretty simple process. First, you just gotta give the servlet a name, tell it where it's located, and then you can provide the mappings for that servlet, which is pretty simple. But of course, in my opinion, annotating is way easier because all you got to do is provide it within the class itself. You don't need to go into the XML configuration file and set all that information. This is just much simpler. But now that you know how to do both, you can choose whatever one is better for you. It's up to you. And that's all I'm going to show you for this episode. So Hopefully you enjoyed that. That's how you map a servlet in different ways, and also how you can use some more complex mapping for more complex URLs. In the next episode, I'm going to show you how to forward requests and stuff like that, so that we can send the user to HTML files and JSP files instead of sending them, raw text and stuff like that using the Prince writer that we saw last episode. Okay. If you have any questions about what I showed you this episode, feel free to leave a question in the comment section below or join our Discord server. We have a big Discord server with over 1,300 members last time I checked, so if you need any help at all with your programs, you can hop into one of these help channels and get some help. You can also just hang out and get some new friends if you want to, so just make sure you click the invitation in the description below. Don't forget, in the description below, I'll also leave a link to the code for this episode, so you can come back to it at any time and use it as a reference. I'll leave good detailed comments around the code so you can have a good explanation in text form too, in case you don't want to watch my awesome videos again. One final thing I want to tell you about: if you want to support this channel, you can click the join button below this video, and you can join this channel as a member for as low as 99 cents a month. If you join, you can get cool perks like a special Discord rank on my server, early access to these videos, and you get shouted out like you see on the screen right now. If that sounds good to you, feel free to join for, like I said, as low as 99 cents a month. Alright, that's it. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. And peace.